Hi, my name is Hanisari from Binti Abdul Latif and I'm from the IB5B. My ID number is 231101112. I'm going to explain about the question 1. So, in the question 1, we have given their financial position and statement profit and loss for Dura Ltd. We're required to calculate the company liquidity ratio based on the statement above, and in number 2, if the industry average ratio for current ratio is 4.3 times and the quick ratio is 0.97 times, we need to evaluate the Dura Ltd overall liquidity performance. So, what it is? Let's go. In liquidity ratio, we have 3 things we need to calculate first. First is current ratio. Current ratio is to assess company ability to pay its short-term obligation with a short-term asset. The formula is current asset divided with current liability. We're given in financial position that current asset amount is 2,050,000 and the current liability is 517,000. After divide these two, we got a 3.56 times. If the industry average ratio is 4.3 times, we can evaluate that Dura Ltd has current ratio of 3.56 times, which is lower than the industry average of 4.3 times. This indicates that the company liquidity position is slightly below the standard benchmark of its sector. Despite being lower than the industry average, Dura Ltd is still capable of meeting its short-term obligation as its current ratio is greater than 1. This suggests that the company holds enough current asset to cover its current liabilities. Specifically, for every 1 ringgit in current liability, Dura Ltd has 3.56 ringgit in current asset. In comparison, the industry average shows that 4.3 ringgit in current asset for every 1 ringgit of current liability, which reflect a stronger liquidity position among the competitors. Because of this difference, investor might view Dura Ltd as slightly less financially stable compared to its peers. However, since its current ratio is still above the 1, the company remains in position to manage its short-term financial commitments. The second component is liquidity ratio. It's a quick ratio, or we call it as acid test ratio. Acid test ratio is a measure of a company's ability to pay its short-term liabilities using the most liquid asset, excluding inventories. The formula for quick ratio is current asset minus prepaid expense minus inventory and divide with current liability. As you can see here, we got a current asset 2,050,000 minus the inventory 1,255,509 and divide it with 575,000. And we got the answer is 1.39 times, and we got the industry average ratio 0.97 times. To evaluate this, we found that Dura Ltd has a higher quick ratio compared to the industry average, indicating stronger liquidity in terms of immediate assets. This suggests that Dura Ltd is able to meet its short-term obligation without relying on the sale of inventory, as the quick ratio excludes inventory from the current assets. With a higher proportion of cash and other liquid assets, Dura Ltd demonstrates a stronger and more stable financial position, giving investors more confidence in its ability to handle short-term liabilities. Prepaid expenses are excluded from this calculation, as these payments have already been made in advance and cannot be used to settle current obligation. The last one in liquidity ratio is net working capital, or we call it as NWC. Net working capital is a measure of a company's short-term financial health and operational efficiency. It shows the difference between current asset and current liability. The formula for the net working capital is current asset minus with current liability. For Dura Ltd, we need to minus 2,050,000 with 575,000, and we got the final answer is RM 1,475,000. So, it's a proof that Dura Ltd has a positive net working capital, which means that its current asset exceeds with current liability. This is an important indicator of a company's short-term financial health, as it reflects the ability to meet operational needs and unexpected expense without facing cash flow difficulty. A positive NWC also reduces the risk of default on short-term obligation. The company's current assets are sufficient to cover its short-term liabilities, which demonstrates its ability to manage its financial commitment on time. This financial flexibility allows Dura Ltd to maintain business operations smoothly without the need for external borrowing or emergency funding, which is especially important in terms of economic uncertainty. Furthermore, the positive net working capital highlights Dura Ltd effective management of inventory, account receivable, and account payable. Efficient control over these components mean the company is collecting payment from customers on time, keeping optimal inventory levels, and managing its payable without incurring late fees or damaging supplier relationship. This balance contributes to a strong working capital cycle. Dura Ltd can use this excess liquidity to fund expansion projects, purchase new assets, or invest in innovation without depending heavily on long-term financing. This positions the company well for sustainable growth in the future.
In the year of 2023, Dura Ltd had an inventory turnover of 4.36 times compared to the year of 2024, which is 5.01 times more. That shows an increasing rate. This also shows that an improvement that is very good for the company because it emphasizes that in the year of 2024, Dura Ltd able to prove their efficiency in selling their inventories. Dura Ltd is now becoming more efficient by selling and restocking the inventory much faster than the year before. The more the rate of firm restocking their stocks, the more sales that the firm gains. In the year of 2023, Dura Ltd took 35 days to collect their money from the customer compared to the year of 2024. Dura Ltd managed to collect their payments within 34 days only. This shows a slight decrease in the number of days their customer took to make payment to Dura Ltd than the year before. This will benefit the firms because it will lead to a firm improvement in cash flow. Though it is a small increase rate, it shows a good sign of efficient management. In the future, Dura Ltd can consider to be stricter on their credit policy to maintain or increase this good rate of day sales outstanding. In the year of 2023, Dura Ltd gained 6.2 times, while in the year of 2024, Dura Ltd only gained 4 times, which is a lower rate. That shows a decreasing rate around the difference around 1.2 times. This decline shows that Dura Ltd are now generating less income per ringgit from their fixed assets. The decreasing Dura Ltd performance in 2024 could be from their company inefficiency to use their own fixed assets to generate more sales and income. This proves an underutilization of assets compared to the year of 2023. They are more efficient, generating their income from the fixed assets. In the year of 2023, Dura Ltd recorded 5.1 times rate in their total asset turnover compared to the year of 2024. Dura Ltd recorded a 3.9 times rate that shows a decreasing rate. Dura Ltd lower total asset turnover shows that company inefficiency in using their total asset to gain more sales compared to the competitors. Similar to the fixed asset turnover, this proves their asset expansion may not still be matched by the increased sales. Out of all 4 performance ratios among Dura Ltd, Ambon Co, and Flexwell Corporation in the year of 2024, Dura Ltd is considered to be the last ranked among the 3 firms. In the inventory turnover context, it measures how many times the firm restocking their inventories. Among the 3 companies, Dura Ltd is the slowest turnover firms due to overstocking compared to their competitors, which is Ambon Co and Flexwell Corporation. They seem to be very focused and manage to handle their inventory management much better. That leads to efficiency. In the day sales outstanding context, It refers to how fast the firm can collect its debt from their customers. Dura Ltd seems to have the longest times of period to collect a payment from the account receivable and customers that may affect firm's cash flow in the long run. Dura Ltd should be stricter on their credit policy to stand with the same level with their competitors such as Ambon Co and the Flexwell Corporation that able to collect their pending payments from the customer within less than a month. In the fixed asset turnover, it measures how efficiently the firm uses its fixed assets to generate sales. Dura Ltd rates of times are significantly lower than Ambon Co and Flexwell Corporation. This shows that Dura Ltd is inefficiency of not using their fixed assets to generate their income. In the total asset turnover context, it measures how effective the firm used their total assets to generate sales or income. Dura Ltd rates are the lowest compared to the competitors. That shows an inefficiency of the whole assets utilization.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Amir Rizwan and I'll be presenting about question 2, number 3 and number 4. Let's start with question 2, number 3. The question is, despite any improvement from 2023, is Dura Ltd keeping up with Ambon.co and Flexwell Corp? Well, Dura Ltd has shown some improvement in 2024 compared to its performance in 2023. It's still trailing behind the competitors in key assets management ratio. Let's look at the specific indicators. Let's start with inventory turnover. Dura Ltd's inventory turnover improved to 5.01 times, but Ambon and Flexwell are still ahead with 6.22 and 5.89 times, respectively. This means Dura Ltd is slower in converting inventory into sales. And then let's move into day sales outstanding. Dura Ltd has the highest day sales outstanding at 34 days compared to 26 days for Ambon and 29.3 days for Flexwell. This shows that Dura is slower in collecting receivables, which can negatively affect cash flow and liquidity. Next is fixed asset turnover. Dura Ltd's fixed asset turnover dropped from 6.2 to 4 times in 2024. In contrast, competitors are achieving over 7 times, that suggesting that Dura Ltd is not using its fixed asset as efficiently. And lastly, total asset turnover. This also declined from 9.1 to 3.9 times, indicating lower revenue generation from total asset compared to Ambon and Flexwell. And to conclude, Dura Ltd is not keeping up with its competitor and must address these inefficiencies to remain competitive. On to the next question, which is recommend any 2 strategic areas for Dura Ltd to improve its asset management performance. The first recommendation is optimize fixed asset utilization. Dura Ltd is declining fixed asset turnovers that suggest inefficiency. To address this, the company should audit and identify underutilized or obsolete fixed asset. And next is upgrade machinery or technology to improve efficiency. Consider outsourcing and non-core activities or leasing instead of owning certain assets. And improve maintenance and production planning to maximize equipment usage. This action can help the company generate more revenue without increasing its asset base. The next recommendation is improve account receivable management. A high day sales outstanding puts pressure on working capital. Dura Ltd can strengthen its credit policy and ensure clients are creditworthy, and also offer early payment discount to encourage faster payment, and use automated invoicing and reminders to speed up collection. And lastly, train staff to resolve conflict quickly and negotiate with better terms. In conclusion, this strategy will not only improve internal efficiency but also help the company better compete with Ambon Co and Flexwell Corp in the long run.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurbalkis binti Shuaimi, SIB 23110081, and now I will present you the question 3, where the question asks you, how would I assess the health of Dura Ltd debt management? There are components that will calculate to determine the health of Dura Ltd debt management, which is time interest earned, debt to equity ratio, and debt ratio. So let's begin with time interest earned. The time interest earned from the calculation is 12.67 times, where we can interpret that Dura LTD can pay its interest expenses more than 12 times over, which reflects strong debt management and a low financial risk. The company is not overly burdened with a debt and is managing its obligation well. So next, let's move to the debt to equity ratio, where here we want to see how many debt company use in every 1 ringgit of equity from the calculation. From the calculation, we can see Dura LTD has just used RM 0.58 cent in debt for every 1 ringgit in equity. A value less than 1 ringgit usually indicate that a business is less stressed monetary because it's funding the majority of its activity with stock rather than borrowing with a ratio of 0.58. Dura LTD has a healthy equity and is not overly dependent on debt, all of which support its financial stability. And lastly, debt ratio, where we can see the debt ratio of 36.88 means that only 36.88 of Dura LTD's total assets are financed through liabilities. This is very healthy and conservative level of debt, and it reflects positively on the company's financial management and risk profile. Why is healthy debt management important for the long-term continuity and sustainability of business like Dura LTD? Healthy debt management is critical to ensuring the long-term sustainability and financial health of business like Dura LTD. It plays a foundational role in balancing financial growth opportunity with risk mitigation, particularly in increasingly competitive and volatile economic environment. Firstly, bankruptcy and financial difficulties are avoided with debt management. A business runs the risk of failing when it earns too much debt without making enough money to pay it back. Like any other business, Dura LTD must keep an ideal capital structure that keeps costs down without taking on excessive debts. Businesses that heavily keep dependent on borrowing may find it challenging to pay off their debt during economic downturn, which could result in operational problem or insolvency. Claim Bradley Maris and Allen 2019. Therefore, keeping debt under control enables the business to continue operating even during lean financial times. Good debt management in practice improves creditworthiness and reduce the cost of borrowing. Lenders and investors assess a company's past performance in managing in-debt obligation before extending a future credit. A business that demonstrates financial discipline and timely payment history is more likely to secure loan at favorable interest rate. Brigham and Houston 2019. This is particularly important for Dura LTD if it plans to expand its operation or invest in capital-intensive projects. Lower borrowing costs translate to increased profitability and more capital for reinvestment. In addition, healthy debt level contribute to long-term growth and investment capability. Companies with manageable debt have more flexibility and reinvesting retained earning into innovation, capacity building, marketing, or technology upgrade. This is to support their competitive and market share over time.